last week we had one more in Bangalore, which is the beginning of the distinguished lecture series that we are going to have, apart from the annual memorial address, which has been on for the last 3 years. All of you know that after his demise or his departing of soul in 2018 September, in less than 45, 60 days, we set this up, and there was a wonderful set of reflections that all of you shared one evening there in Delhi in 2019, and then came 2020. I was there, Chirag, many of you who are here were all there. So the idea has sort of gained strength. I will now invite. Well, I must also tell you that apart from Mr. Suresh, among the senior industry leaders who are chairpersons of organizations, I mean, as industry organizations go, and formidable professionals like Mr. Kamaljeet Java are all here. And we are going to also have Mr. Jamshed Godrej. He has consented to be here today. He must be here in a few minutes from now. Can I, sir, Mr. S.P. Jain, can I request you, since you are one of the oldest associates of and friends of Dr. Prem Jain, can I request you to take a few minutes, couple of minutes probably or more, to share some of your own reflections, thoughts, and whatever you have in your heart. Over to you, Mr. S.P. Jain, sir.
Sir, you are talking to Mr. Shagun Jain or Mr. SP Jain?
SP Jain is not coming yet.
Yes, sir. My son is trying to help him out to log into that.
Okay, he's not coming yet.
Room. Yeah,
okay, he's not coming. Then I will request Mr. Shagun Jain.
Okay. My association with Prem goes back to school days. He was 5 years senior to me and my neighbor also. So I have very fond memories of him right from childhood, and he was always my mentor. Being a senior and being a leader in all aspects, academic, extracurricular activities, and having meetings at home, friends and other things, dramatics, etc. Then when he went to engineering college, again he became my mentor, and I also joined an engineering college, pursued the profession. Then went to USA also. And when he returned from USA after 2 years, I also came back to India. So that way, he had been my mentor. And I learned a lot from him. And we had a lot of things in common. He presented me his book, That Reflections, to me. And on that, he wrote a small message for me, which says, Shugan, you and I share the same lineage, same value system, and we are here to make a difference together, and good wishes. See, he excelled in his profession, and his job was to make like he said, the green Bharat, or, leader of this. Similarly, I'm also on a mission, similar mission, but my mission is limited to Jain philosophy, taking it globally. And we used to share a lot of, moments. He had always been a sort of guide. His wife was also very close to us. We are like a family. And whenever I requested him to guide me on some mission, he was always forthcoming, very inspiring. All I can say is it's very difficult to have a person, so close to you, who is dedicated to his profession, very compassionate, loving, and caring for his old friends. I remember a lot of his old school friends, schoolmates, classmates, who were literally like Krishna's. I remember the story of Krishna and Sudama. He used to keep in touch with them, and help them whenever it was possible. And I think you might have seen this in his profession also, like this. I happened to attend a lot of meetings of Green Building Council, how he, took our school where we went together, and he said, Shugan, I want this to be the first school in the inner city to be green building. And he did his my professional, financial guiding and other things. He used to pull me, why you are late? Why don't you get it done? And finally we achieved the results. So these are a few things, I learned a lot from him. Again, I say he is a family, like an elder brother, mentor, a professional. I think he was, we decorated him with the most distinguished alumni of the school. Now I'm the chairman of that school. So we said in 60 years of record of the school, he is indeed the most distinguished scholar. So this is all I can say about him.
Very beautiful. Very lovely. I must only say this, that if he had lived in a time that was devoid of genius, let us say, his importance then might have been regarded as purely relative and incidental, like that of the one-eyed, who becomes the king amongst the blind. But he lived in an age of giants among contemporaries who filled a large place in the heart and eye of India, of Bharat, and of what he called the Janam Janmabhoomi. Yet he was not dwarfed by their presence. He only rose higher. I think that is what you are also saying, sir, in your own ways. It is sure proof, it's certain proof that chance had little to do with his greatness, and that it rested on very incontestable merit, actually, in some ways. Very nice, very evocative, sir. What a great start to this set of expressions that you will all be coming up with. Raghupati, thank you for being here. A lot of you are here. Sandeep Narang, Matt has come in from Illinois, and Sriram also from Illinois. We have Venkat Giri, of course. We are supposed to have Mr. Jamshid, Godrej in a while, but we'll see when he comes in. We will also see how we greet him. Can I turn to Mr. S.P. Jain? Varun, thank you for getting your son to help him. So 3 generations are conspiring to make this happen. Yeah. Please, sir. Mr. S.P. Jain.
Yeah, thanks. First of all,
You can speak. We can hear you. Yes.
So I'm really very happy that while inviting me.
We can't hear you just now. Your audio is very low, Mr. Jain. Varun, you must tell your son. Tell us his name. Maybe we'll ask him. We'll charm him into helping.
Samyak.
Now we can hear you. No, Varun, you. Okay. Samyak, are you there? Will you help your grandfather? No.
Chandra Jamshid has joined.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Jamshid Godrej. Nice to have you here. I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Yeah. And well, Payal told us that you will be here today, and you're coming right on time at 7:10, a minute before. You beat Dr. Jain at being punctual. What we will do is this: we will listen to a couple more people, Mr. Godrej, and after which we will want to put a film out. I thought we will invite some of his oldest friends, and there is Mr. S.P. Jain, his son helping him, while his grandson helping him to get this audio right. Have you got it going, Mr. S.P. Jain? Varun, have you helped him? If you haven't, then we will see if we can get back to him in a while. If that's all right with you? Yeah. Okay. Well.
join.
Yeah. I'll then turn to Mr. Virendra Wadhwa, who is again a friend of about 40 years and more. Mr. Wadhwa, are you there? Payal, is he there?
I don't see him. Doctor.
Okay, he hasn't come in yet again.
No,
all right. Then I think it's only natural that we turn to, Mr. Jamshid Godrej. What I would request you to do is this, Mr. Godrej. Maybe share some of your reflections now, maybe 2-3 minutes of it. And after that, I'll request you to stay while all of us will also be there to look at a kind of a montage of stills that we have put together of the multiple number of events that we have had this week. So over to you now, Mr. Godrej, after which we will play the film.
Thank you, Mr. Hariharan, and thank you to Payal and all the friends of late Dr. Jain for inviting me. As I think you all know, Dr. Jain was leading the CII green building movement for many, many years. And the green building in Hyderabad, as you all know, was designed by architect Karan Grover, but Dr. Jain had a lot to do with the way that the energy was modeled and the fact that we were able to obtain the LEED platinum rating at the time. And there was a little bit of controversy as to whether we won the rating or it was Robert Redford's building that won the rating. But eventually we were declared as being the first one in the world with the greenest building in the world. And I think it had a lot to do with the vision that Dr. Jain brought to the project. As you know, CII, has been very interested and has been promoting sustainability and everything green for many, many years now. We started initially with energy efficiency, which led to many interesting programs. We founded the Green Building movement through the Green Business Center. We have a sustainability program through the CII ITC Center. And, we have for a very long time now been influencing industry to move to be much greener than what it has been. This is something that the whole world is concerned about. Climate change has become center to the entire movement of economic development. President Biden has picked up where President Obama left off. Unfortunately, we had 4 years which did not result in much progress, but the European Union has a Green Deal, and Japan has done the same, and many, many countries around the world, have been very keen and interested in converting our economy to be much greener. Now, what are the benefits? Of course, we know that energy efficiency has a huge economic component. It not only do you save cost, but it creates a much better atmosphere through less pollution, etc. And green buildings, are sort of center stage in all of this. We know that the building sector is a huge energy consumer, whether it's air conditioning and heating, it's lighting, it's the glass that's used in the building, the amount of energy that comes through it, and the light that comes, and the lighting of buildings can basically allow you to do daylighting without artificial light. And there's so much modern development in solar. The building, our CII building in Hyderabad, just installed double-sided solar. And, I think that the way that technology is progressing, is going to make a huge difference. And Dr. Jain, with his huge engineering background and knowledge of technical issues, especially, I think had a huge contribution to make for our green building movement. And I always remember him as being very, very optimistic. He was always smiling, no matter what the issue was. Whenever there was a roadblock, he always found a way to move forward. And it was something that allowed us to really make that difference when he had to go out and promote buildings. And I know I was present on a number of occasions, of course, when he was there. And he had a wonderful style of speaking, very down to earth, and a way in which he was able to convince people that, this is the right way to go. Of course, I'm speaking to all the converted people just now, so I don't have to convert any of you. But the real issue is that we have a huge challenge in front of us. When we look at the global economy, the Indian economy, how are we going to make that transformation?
Oh, yes.
And to make that transformation, we need as many champions as possible, of course, but we also need to be able to co-opt the general public. And this is something that, all of us really have to do to convince not just the political and bureaucratic leaders of the country, but every single person, business people, non-business people, everyone can see the benefit of a green building. And I think how we promote it will make all the difference. Our aim, as you all know, I think, is that we want to be the country with the largest number of rated green buildings in the world. We are already second largest, and I'm sure that the leadership that we have, and I can see Mr. Suresh here, who's been leading this movement since Dr. Jain passed away, and I see Raghupati. I see many of you here who have been very instrumental in making this movement happen. And I want all of you to help us, to achieve that #1 position of green buildings in the world. And that was a dream, I think, that Dr. Jain had, and we all share. And so thank you for inviting me. I think it's a wonderful event that you have put together, Payal. So thank you very much.
Mr. Godwin, while that larger message was significant, do you have any single striking memory, shall we say, or slice of memory of something that you had as a relationship with Dr. Jain?
Well, I mean, he and I, were very much involved in the entire putting together of the green building movement, and we were always thinking about, how we can make it sort of deeper, better, involve more architects, involve more children, bring about, competitions for school children, for architects. And I mean, he had wonderful ideas, and it was a pleasure always to, see his enthusiasm for them and putting them all together.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for these words. Now we will turn to the film. It runs for about maybe about 280 seconds, not very long. It's a nice tapestry. I'd like you to be there along with the rest of you.
Sure.
Yatin, can you now host that, please, the deck? And to all of you, I must tell you, of course, a lot of you were personally involved in directing and leading these sets of events. Yep, move to yes, there you are. No? Well, it takes a minute. Technology has its challenges. Yeah, there you are. Yeah, keep moving it. Yeah, there you are. It's just a sort of a set of dissolves that we have put in here. And you'll see how, nearly every day we had maybe 3 events, 4 events as discussions and such. And beyond that, were multiple other events everywhere. And these were all virtual events too. All created by the Green Ambassadors, and that tribe is growing at the Prem Jain Memorial Trust. We have 24 months now, 19, 20, and 21. So we are about 27 months from November 29, 2018. And these also went very well, all driven by youngsters, all under 25. Payal Jain, of course, loves to work with these young boys and girls. And there you are. And this also today and yesterday. In fact, there was one session where I'll come to that. Very lovely note that Kamal Mittal wrote, and I'm sure it's here somewhere. And after that is the virtual run, and then this. Well, of course, one of the kids came up with the idea, and this again went very well. This was part of
Must
even.
add here, Doctor,
Yes,
that we
yes.
had over 600 entries coming in from students. We were
Good
so
Lord.
overwhelmed with
And when you say students, you mean school
the
children.
jury. It was just an amazingly inspiring work.
Right. And there's Mr. Java. He had organized a couple of them. This is, and those kids, when you say 600, you mean school children, right? Payal?
Sorry, what was that? I missed
Now,
that.
do you mean school children when you say
Colleges, all college students.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Mostly colleges, I would say
Absolutely.
90%.
Yeah, this is from Carrier. Chirag is also here. Well, many different.
This last week and all the activities which happened during the Mahotsav for those
That's
who
right.
joined it.
That's right. You must tell them of today's events. I think there were 4 such planting events today, I think, is that right, Payal?
Or that we have pictures of. I think there were more,
That's
but we
right.
only
That's
got
right.
pictures of 4.
Yeah, we had one film star last week speaking here in Karnataka on sustainability. He's also, a person who's been an environmentalist for some years. And today we had another one where it was called the Filmotsav, and we had a President's Award winning filmmaker who came in. Yes, yes. That's Charanjit Singh. These are all people who you will know anyway. Multiple events, each of them coming from different quarters. I mean, it's amazing how, this whole thing got organized with a grand total of probably 4 people who aren't even paid for this pile. Should I say that? All in the committed volunteers from her office and beyond.
Very much thanks to the board and the trustees and all the
I'm
people who
sure.
are here. Actually, each one of them
Of
had
course,
something or the
of
other to
course,
do with
of course,
these
of
events.
course.
No, so this we were
Absolutely.
just doing the secretariat's job.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mala did this yesterday, I think, in Bombay. This is Sattva Nation. This was today. This again was today.
आवाज आ तो रही है
Photo देखने थे.
Yeah, someone's got to mute there, please. Yeah, there. That's Rajesh, I think. Yeah. Okay, well, that's it. There's a couple more slides there. All right. Thank you once again, Mr. Godrej, for being here. I mean, you're, of course, welcome to stay with us and listen to some of the others share their reminiscences. But if you've got to go, we are not going to stop you from doing so. But thank you for being here and for those very precise, you're always very precise in what you give out as messages. I've seen with you, even in those that you send out as in writing. At the beginning of this year, you sent something and it was very, very chiseled. So thank you, Mr. Godrej, for being here.
Thank you.
And can I now move to Mr. S.P. Jain? Are you ready, Jain Saab? It has
Thank Mr. Hariharan and
wonderful.
Payal.
Thank you.
You know, I'll tell you a few things which I'm sure some of you don't know. See, my association with Dr. Jain is from 1970, when he came to India from USA.
Mhm.
After coming to India, he joined IIT Kanpur as visiting associate professor. And fortunately, you know, I was as lecturer in Engineering College, Dayalbagh, I attended their few sequential summer schools. After that, I did my MTech from IIT Kanpur. I took the subject of air conditioning refrigeration under Dr. Jain. And he was really super there. People used to appreciate him like anything in IIT Kanpur. They like to, usually his lecture class used to be full of these students. So he has that, and I met him first time in 1971, during this sequential school program, 3 years, which was of 3 years. After, first, and another question which I would like to, the answer which I would like to give, why did he come to India after having earned such a big name in USA? He is one of the obedient son of his parents. He came to India, leaving all luxuries there, and stayed at 12 Diptyganj Sadar Bazaar, Agra, which was his Haveli, parents' Haveli, just to serve the parents. Further, I like to say that Pyle was not born that time. Her probably date of birth is in that 12 Diptyganj Sadar Bazaar. So I know her from that time. Then later on, you know, after I came in contact with Dr. Jain so closely, and during my, teaching in engineering college, Dayalbagh, I invited him to deliver the lecture on that, which he accepted my invitation at a short notice. Then, from IIT Kanpur, see, it was a problem. When he was in IIT Kanpur, his parents were in Sadar Bazaar, Dipli. Please check while if I take more time, I'll stop then and
That's
there.
okay. Yeah.
So he every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, he used to travel by the train, come to Delhi and go back. Because naturally, whosoever comes first time to India, they find, the job not of in Delhi and all that. Later on, after working there for 2 years, even Bhaviji was also there in IIT Kanpur campus. And, when in 1972 or so, 71, and he joined Joseph Allen Stein and Associates as a MEP services head. That time, Stein's office was not having the MEP utilities done in-house. There were other consultants they were hiring there. And this, and he used to earlier travel from Diptyganj Sadar Bazaar to this office was at 5 Sundar Nagar, New Delhi. The name Joseph Allen Stein and Associates. And after my MTech from IIT Kanpur, I, came back to Agra and joined Dayalbagh, and I resigned next month after talking to him that Dr. Jain, I want to work with you in this your organization. So he said, fine, you come for an interview, we'll see that. So I remember the date, I resigned in my Dayalbagh college in July, 73. And 8th August 1973, I joined this Joseph Allen Stein and Associates as a mechanical engineer under him.
It looks like you followed him every footstep, literally.
Thank you. So that's why I'm really excited that she invited me first time. So I thought to speak
Thank
about
you
that.
so much, Uncle.
Very
Thank
nice.
you,
So
honestly.
very lovely. So very
Yeah,
lovely.
yes.
I'm
So-
sure you got many stories and lots of pictures. I'm sure that you have taken with him in those years. Maybe
And
we should put it together, and Pyle should help.
So I, 71, he joined, 73, I joined with him, and we got a, with that Joseph Allen Stein and Associates, we got a very large project, if I would say largest international project in Hyderabad, which is called ICRISAT, International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics. And that was the first largest job, which was given to Blue Star, and that they completed with competition with Voltas and all that. Now, the thing is, when I joined him in 1973, in my interview, he asked me one question, which I would like to repeat. He says, Mr. Jain, you are joining this office as a mechanical engineer. That time computers were not there. He said, will you mind after MTech working on the drafting board? I said, no, Dr. Jain, I will really love to work on that. It's not that today's you find when they do MTech, PhD, they say, no, this is not my job. So this is something which I learned from him. And in this ICRISAT project, I myself made 46 chilled water piping drawings, sections, schematics, and the tunnel was almost 3 kilometers long, with all slopes and all that.
Right.
It's a walking distance. So I'll not go into all that. Now, during my working in Stein's office, I learned from him a couple of things which I would like to see. The punctuality, dedication to work, soft spoken, hard working, and strict and disciplined in meeting plan, project, target, date, schedule. And even, if we have to work late evening, late night, I just tell you that I was married with Varun was hardly 3-4 years old, And I stayed in Stein's office for 3-4 nights to complete this ICRI set project, drawings, and the tender documents and all that with him. And he used to also travel very late. In that period, since for Dr. Jain was having yellow Fiat car that
Right.
time,
Right.
he was driving himself. So he used to go to Sadar Bazaar late evening, morning. It used to be a very traffic jam and all that. So he shifted to C13 Green Park, South X.
You remember the addresses also.
I know each and everything. I was so personally attached with him.
So,
And
Uncle, it is a yellow Fiat with
Yellow
this
Fiat.
big black, almost like a racing car stripes on it. It's so unlike him when I think about it now. It was like the red tie. He was this bright yellow
Yeah.
Fiat with these black racing stripes.
It's like that violent, what is that, maroon or red jacket he used to have. Very
As
unlike him.
unlike that. A lot
And
of
that is
people
something you
told me-
gifted, I suppose, to him. I know.
Yes, I bought him the first one when we were in New York because he it was cold. And then I think the red just stuck and it was one red after the other.
Yeah.
And-
But thank you so much, Uncle. Thank you.
Thank
So
you,
lovely to hear
Mr.
your-
Thank you, sir, for
We
being
do
here.
have Pushpa Didi. I don't know if she would want to speak, but
No.
she
Is she
is
there?
part of his legacy from his college days in the US. Didi,
Okay.
would you like to say a word?
Is she there? Yes.
Yes, but she's mute. I don't know if she can hear me.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, there she is. Yeah. No, we can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yatin, can you unmute her?
Hello.
Yes, now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't understand Payal's this thing.
Question.
She has to repeat.
Mom, we are asking Pushpa Didi to speak.
Acha.
Hello, Payal.
Yes, Didi, would you like to say something? Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.
Thank you for asking me.
We're so happy
I
to have
told
you.
you I had somehow I gained strength to listen to all. And I don't have any scientific contributions, but as a human being, the one phrase I liked about him is down to earth. He's very kind, compassionate, and helpful. He's the Raki festival, he interpreted it to the literary meaning. He takes care of his sisters to the world. And he means a lot to me. I miss him very much. I miss him.
So,
Thank you very much, Didi. Thank you. It really means a lot to have you here. Thank you. Thank you. Doctor, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, should we invite Mr. Birendra Vadva if he's here?
I don't see him here.
Okay, and then I'll turn to Mr. Kamal Mittal since he's here. Kamal Mittal, are you here? Yes, I saw you a while ago. No. Yes, there you are. There you are. Well, I must, before he speaks, I must tell you this, that, he sends a small note yesterday with great pride. He says, we converted a slum some years ago into a public park with water harvesting and all that. One of the former lieutenant governors of Delhi ordered all the trees to be cut and the plots sold for money. We were able to stop that and get an HC order, a high court order there from Delhi. There was a public fight with the LG. And for months, we were checked out by every agency in town. He must have been hounded by some of them are being today in Delhi. The matter went up to the PM, to the deputy PM. I wonder who that was. And when we had a deputy PM, the president and the CM of Delhi, besides the MOEF, it's a long story, he says. But he says that the bottom line is that with perseverance and with patience, one can achieve what is right in our country. I think Mr. Godrej, in a certain sense, was saying that, when he said that we need to, go out and see what we can do to co-opt the public. Or when Sugan Jain said something about that little note that Dr. Jain wrote for him in his book on lineage, value systems, and we are here to make a difference. Kamal Mittal, can you share some thoughts, please?
Let me say a few words about Dr. Jain. Jain ji for me came into my life in mid 1980s when we first set up Powerful Business Center. We had long discussions about building an underground tank which was insulated for chilled water, making ducts which were larger sizes for free cooling, etc., which were not relevant at that time, but we together thought that they will be relevant in the future. There would be time of day metering, etc., which have come true. At that time, what is very important is my father-in-law, late Mr. Mahendra Swaroop, showed implicit trust in him and said that he would decide as to whom we should place an order for the HVAC system of the building would be Dr. Jain's responsibility, and he would not be involved at all. I remembered the words trust and connected, this word was connected to him. So that was my own experience starting in 1980. We spent an enormous amount of time together in 2007, 2008, when we had conceptualized the world's most energy efficient building to be known as Green Spaces. This particular project was supported by President Bush at that time from the White House. And because of his support, Overseas Private Investment Corporation decided to give us all the debt of about $125 million at very low interest rates. And we practically built that building virtually, but at the end of the tunnel, there was a financial crisis in the US in November, December, October, November of 2008. And the private equity fund, which was involved, said that they would not invest any money anywhere in the world. And so the project got off track. And we still have the land, but not the building. In fact, we have had a metro station on site. Mr. Mangu Singh, who's still the chairman, agreed to provide that to have direct access into the building like what you have in Hong Kong. So Dr. Jain worked very, very closely. And we had a PMC, which was JLL, and the managing director of that particular unit came back and said, I don't think I add any value because you have the managing director of a company knowledgeable working with you. So what am I doing here? I'm wasting my time because he's a project manager in that sense.
Any striking single memory that you have? I mean, we have so many more people to share, so I have to sort of step in here. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He was a very humble person who listened a lot and spoke softly and words of wisdom.
Right.
He greatly encouraged me to try out new ideas and supported me in taking risks and making move towards perfection in the area of energy efficiency and IEQ by thinking out of the box, saying that there's not only what you read, but you have to use your own common sense in terms of what you do.
Right.
He had an enormous influence in the thinking of our son, Soumya, who attended his lectures, and on Barun, our son-in-law, who was inspired by him.
So it spans 3 generations. Yeah.
To teach a class at the Delhi School of Planning and Architecture in indoor air quality. So he went and took all these classes, and he said, that's only when you'll be challenged by the senior students and you'll have to answer them.
Yeah.
So that was that learning and a deep learning.
Okay.
As a family, I would say we are building a new IGBC certified green home in New Delhi. And he said that he would provide the guidance and responsibility for it. And as if it were going to be his own home. And I need not worry about it. Without his guidance, we've had immense issues because we had a lot of confusion. And now his disciple, who is Ashish Rakeja, has kindly agreed to help us out. The family, I would say, we miss his presence even today.
Wonderful.
My wife is with me to
Great.
second.
Very
Let
nice.
me also say
just her being there helped so much. I must also tell all of you that, you know, this lady Pushpa, who is there from the United States, she was his host family when he was in the United States, you know, in those years. And therefore, there's a relationship of fondness that seems to go a long way. She is wrestling, she's battling cancer and such just now, but anyway, she found time to be with us. Mr. V. Suresh, you heard Mr. Godrej also. Would you want to come in and share your thoughts on what this future is, what the platform is that Dr. Jain offered us, and what he meant to you personally? We can't hear you. You have to unmute.
Yeah, unmute.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hari. Well, talk of Dr. Jain, there's so many things we got to, comes out of my mind over there, out of respect, reverence, recognition, regard that we have on various aspects of working together. It's a relationship of nearly 40 years. And that's 80s, early 80s is when we started work together, primarily in the context of the National Building Code work, when I was working there for over 5 decades. And he, as he said, he came back, his specialization air conditioning and heating. He was made the chairman for the part on the air conditioning heating of the National Building Code, a highly respected document. I'm talking about the earlier version, subsequently 2005 version and 2016 version. He continues to be the chair of that. And that relationship built over the years has really blossomed the green building movement that we started, all of us together in 2000. Had the pleasure of working earlier with Parsu and with Dr. Jain, especially on the policy and advocacy related area, which he felt was an important component. So the message gets across, not just to the few people dealing with the green building, but to the concerned people in a larger way, not only the government or the customers, etc. And most importantly, when you worked on this relationship building, I think one important point everybody should remember, I think taking off from what Jamshed has indicated on the climate change, when the whole world, 193 countries in United Nations, September 2015, brought out the Sustainable Development Goal to the year 2030. It was that I was having a nice cup of tea with Dr. Jain in India International Center, and the first thing that he talked to me, of course he didn't take that, was his idea was we should do the same thing for the National Building Code, and we were just finalizing the 2016 version of the National Building Code, and you will be very happy to know that India is the first country in the world, and even now, to include the chapter on sustainable approach to sustainability, the built environment. And needless to say, the various areas I want to talk about, that'll take more time, but I think he was a differentiator. He was a differentiator from various other in the green building rating side over there, to think in terms of moving into the green buildings or green built environment. The whole world did not do it, so we should shift over to that. That is a singular contribution over there. From the homes to the affordable green home, to the green cities for the greenfield, to the brownfield city projects, to the green villages component. There are so many aspects in you, and more importantly, over there, his whole thrust for getting the next generation through the green building chapters. Green building chapters was for the student chapters was a very major. Today, you will be very happy that 272 chapters are there. With
Sureshji, I know you well, so I will request you to, since we have so many more people and we are already past.
I thought I'll come to the end. What you wanted me, sir. There are so many aspects of his particular, at an official level, personal level, warm, humane, concerned, and caring, kind, compassionate, what all adjectives you want to talk about him. But more importantly, a great human being with whom we could work so closely and work together. And indelible memory of the great association we had from the 2000 to 2018 of the green building movement period is something which we deeply cherish over. And what all we are doing is taking forward that dream of his of the 10 billion square feet by 2022 when India became India at 75. We are reaching there, sir. We are already 7.75 between this year and next year.
Sure.
We'll achieve that. That is one of
Sure.
his aspirational dream on that of
Sure.
achieving to be number one, as James
Right.
Shetty said,
Right.
in the green building movement. We'll be doing that.
Thank
I'll
you.
leave it at that at this point of time. I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll have
Yeah.
opportunities reflected because so
Sure.
many points I noted.
I
But
know.
once
I
I get
know.
into it, there is no
There's
end
this-
to.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to
Thank you.
monopolize time
Thank
for
you.
that. Okay,
Thank you.
right.
I'll turn now to Mr. Java, after which to Raghupati, and then on to Tyagarajan. First, Mr. Java. Some personal memory and not at a work level, something that you think could resonate powerfully in all our collective minds after this evening. Mr. Java. Okay, then we'll move to Raghupati. Raghu?
Mr.
Abhina,
Java is here. Mr.
Yeah,
Java, your sound, I
Yeah,
think he
I
can't.
saw him earlier.
No,
But
he's here. He's here.
he's there, Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Java, he's there.
Yes, I'm here. I don't know. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate for what a finish of this function, which we conceived a few years back. I'm getting very emotional. He was such an impeccable personality. Where to start and where to end? Because so many people have said so many things. To me, he was a fatherly figure, and I have, he was indeed a guide, philosopher, teacher, and he has taken me from Carrier to Voltaire's. When he was in Carrier, I was there on many times when I used to go to him and say that, sir, this is a problem. He was always there with his smiling face and used to give me the solution. When I went to Voltaire's, I remember that time, and I went with that time with Mr. Soni, who was the managing director there, and I said, I have joined Voltaire, sir, and I need your blessing, and this is what I want. Every time when I went to him, he gave me the solution of all my problems. So when I joined Daikin, I will tell you that I went to take his blessings, and he said, yes, you have joined a company, but you have to do something for me, which has been my dream. And as a shishya, as a pupil, or as my son, you have to deliver Bharat Ka AC. So I said, sir, you have to come with me to Japan once. And I forced him. He was very reluctant. He says, yeah, it is very difficult for me to go, but I insisted, and he accepted my request. When I went to TIC, Technology Innovation Center, and he happened to meet my boss there on an inauguration of our Technology Innovation Center. And he said, oh my God, you have created such a fantastic Technology Innovation Center. Probably, he said that in 1962, he was in Carrier US. He said, probably this is 20 times better than that, and you must. He asked my chairman that, why don't you, sort of advertise about it, or why don't you show it to the public? And my chairman told that probably, Japanese show their supremacy by keeping silent.
Right.
And then onwards, he said that, in India, if you have to get success, you should give Bharat Ka AC. They didn't understand that, what is Bharat Ka AC? And then the way he explained, and then onwards, I think every year he was a special guest for our meetings. So I just cannot pay back my tribute to him in words. I salute to him. Today, if you look at, sustainability, we are just trying to give it back to him what job he had given it to us by remembering him on these occasions. Now is the time that exhibit the strength as we move forward to our greater growth with an eye on the post-COVID-19 world. Probably he had realized this vision much earlier, and air conditioners have become a key part of infrastructure supporting society because they have ushered in changes. I think we are trying to fulfill his vision through our environmental vision by keeping a step ahead of whatever guidance he has given it to us. Thank you. I think.
Thank you.
I can't. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional about it, and
Nice,
but we just stand committed to helping achieve the sustainable development goals, what he has given it to us. And it is, we all also take that oath that, what
Appreciate that.
vision he had given for 10 billion square feet,
Absolutely.
we will soon
I'm
reach
sure
to
we
that
will.
level.
We'll get
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Raghupati, and after that, Tyagarajan. SRP, are you there? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Hari. Thank you, Payal. Thank you for inviting me, and good evening to everybody. It has been, I have been involved with Dr. Jain from 2001 onwards, and it has been a fantastic experience. He has been a leader to all of us. I'm talking to us, I'm talking from the IGBC team point of view, and he has been a leader, he has been a mentor, he has been a guru, and IGBC has grown leaps and bounds, and it has been an immense learning experience to all of us from that perspective. When the first initial thing was, as Mr. Godrej mentioned, he made an immense contribution, and he is along with Karan, he was the key person, and of course Godrej also, Mr. Jamshed Godrej himself, key person in making the impossible possible. Getting a platinum rating at that time was, and that too, it became the greenest building in the world. So that was a fantastic achievement, and that was the brilliant teamwork of Karan, Mr. Godrej, and Godrej's leadership, as well as Dr. Jain's design. And from there, the next major thing happened was in 2005, where actually we wanted to do a major conference in Delhi, that is a Green Building Congress. Then it was Parasu and myself felt that Dr. Jain was the best person to lead that conference. And that's why Dr. Jain came into very actively into the administrative role of or leadership role of the IGBC itself. And that was an amazing conference. One has to really see that conference. When compared to the previous year at 2004 to 2005, there was almost a 400% or 500% growth. Then when the change was about to happen in 2006 and 2007, Parasu decided to step down and he wanted to hand it over and identify the chairman. It is always a convention within CII and IGBC and that is IGBC has followed the CII convention. Is to the present chairman or the past chairman group will decide who should be the next chairman. And so it was Parasu who was consulting Dr. Jamshed Godrej, and it was unanimous that Dr. Jain is the best person to lead. And I still remember the date we had a meeting at Adyar Park Hotel at Chennai when Dr. Jain was there for a meeting, and it was Parasuraman who persuaded him. I was there fully in that meeting and requested him that he should be the chairman of the Indian Green Building Council. That is way back somewhere in maybe around March, April of, I forgot the date, March, April of 2007. And Dr. Jain took some time, maybe you can confirmed after 10 or 15 days, what was the greatest thing that happened for IGBC. And then Dr. Jain started leading this activity. It was a phenomenal growth. The IGBC membership was initiated, concept of IGBC membership was initiated in 2007. The IGBC executive board was initiated in 2007. It was a complete transformation. And in the 10 years from 2007 to 17, I would have had the honor of accompanying Dr. Jain to several meetings.
I'm sure.
As a secretary at in charge.
Yeah. Raghu, I see that. What one single memory, something that impacted you personally or professionally, something that he talked about someday off the cuff, and it blew your mind or
I will share two experiences, only one.
Only one probably. We have got so many more.
Yeah. See, one thing I will just come to the final point which I wanted to say. See, he was, I have my own nature of hobby, etc. I tend to see what the person, how to see the person's characteristics, etc. And I've tried to verify different characteristics amongst various personalities. One very, very unique thing about Dr. Jain, and I have seen that characteristic only 3 people so far in my dealing of more than 1 million people. Only 3 people have got this characteristic. The characteristic is, even if you ask a person to think bad about another person, if the person might have done harm to you, etc., this person will never have any bad feeling about the other side. He will never think of, even in his dream, he will not think of bad about the other person.
In fact, Payal and I were speaking about it. Yeah.
This is possible only when a person has got extraordinary goodness in his mind.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it is not possible for a human being, by and large. And there is only one character in the entire history or epic when the eldest of the Pandavas, Mahabharata, that person had that characteristic.
Yudhishthira.
Okay, Yudhishthira. And coming back, Dr. Jain had this characteristic. And this is a rare thing, very, very, very rare. And I'm greatly honored and indebted to him. And it has been a great learning experience. Thank you, Hari. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Pai. Thank you.
Earlier we heard.
Thing to say, Raghupati ji. That's so profound, very profound.
I know. Earlier we heard someone talk about Krishan and Sudham, and here we have him talking about him being a Yudhishthira. Very nice. Tyagarajan, maybe 2 minutes if you don't mind, because we have got so many more to come after you.
Sure, sir. Thank you, Mr. Hariharan, and thank you, Payal, for inviting me. It's a privilege to participate in this session. I'll be brief, but I think I'm the only HVAC professional who had not interacted anything to do with air conditioning with Dr. Jain. It was always about some philosophy or sustainability. These were the two subjects. I had the privilege of spending very long hours. One part is 3 award jury sessions in Mistri's office. That long day he used to be there. Often I used to be interacting with him. That was a privilege. And once from Ahmedabad to Delhi, we had traveled. The flight was delayed and subsequently in the airport and traveling with him in the aircraft. The greatest leadership lesson that I had learned from him is to set very high goals. Even for green buildings, the type of goals that he used to undertake used to be very, very high order. The second is to be ahead of the curve in terms of reading and learning. I think till the end, he was learning every day. Then fitness. He kept himself very fit and he had time to contemplate. Now, I would look at him as a person who never distanced himself because of the age or something like that. I recollect once he, I think Mr. Kamal Mittal is here. It was the job that was assigned to us. Raghu will remember this, that the Powerpur Center was supposed to be securing a platinum rating. He was very, very particular. It should be platinum rating. Dr. Jain was aware that we are involved in that particular job. We were not getting through. We were struggling. It was a day of one day prior to the Green Building Congress. And I was worked up and making calls here, there, what we could do. And Dr. Jain told me, please slow down, Tyag. You should learn to slow down. I turned back to ask him that, doctor, is it not applicable to you? He looked at my eyes and he said that I am sorry, Tyag, I shouldn't have said so. So he is humble to the core. Now I end by saying that he was an authority in the subject of not only HVAC and sustainability as a whole. I am proud of having served with him. I had seen him very closely. He is the greatest, but he carried himself well, but never showed his authority in any forum at all. He was humble, down to earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I turn to Mr. Sunil Juneja? After that, Matt Sial. I know it's a morning for you and you have a work schedule, so I thought I'll ask you. And after that, Sriram from Illinois. Both of you are from there. So you two will come after Mr. Sunil Juneja. Over to you, Mr. Juneja. You're mute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. डॉक्टर जैन के बारे में कुछ भी कहना सूरज को रोशनी दिखाने के बराबर है. To be very honest with you. So I have very, very fond memories of him. And the one thing I learned from him was the punctuality and how you should carry. So we used to travel from Calcutta or from Udaipur. When we sit on the plane, we just make the notes. And once he asked me, Sunil, have you made the notes, what you have to do? I said, no, sir. He said, in case you want to succeed in life, always do that, because when you reach there tomorrow, you won't remember what works you have to do. So many things to say about him. So I think many people are there to say. So I just take your leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Matt.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to come and talk to you a little bit. for those of you who don't know me, I am a professor at Michigan State University. And my connection with Dr. Jain started in 1980 when I was doing my master's at School of Planning and Architecture. And he was a visiting professor. And I remember after that, we have stayed in touch. I moved to US. I left India in 1982 after finishing my master's. And he told me to always do things back in India. So we have stayed in touch. Every 10 years or so, we did a project together. I'll just tell you, last two projects we did was in 2010, around that, we started working with Lady Irwin College. I see some of the faculties on the call, and worked with them to develop sustainability curriculum. And he and I were partners in doing that and their annual symposiums. The last one was in 2017 when we were working with apparel industry, and he connected Dr. Hari and I, and Dr. Shriram came in, who's my partner at Michigan State University. And we started working on the apparel industry, and you saw the conference which took place last year. All I can tell you is I became a professor after many years working in the industry. So now I'm at a stage where my students, my mentee come and tell me how I influenced their life. And looking back, I could tell you, probably it happened when I saw him teaching at SPA and I was sitting in this class. Maybe that affected me to become a professor. And those influences that you carry with you. The last thing I can tell you, sum it up, is observing him all these years. I have many, many interactions, many, many memories. I can summarize that I found him, like many of you said, treating everyone gracefully, treating people with grace, not looking down on people, not really looking up, looking level with people. And I think probably some people tell me I try to do the same thing. Maybe I learned from him. So it's a circle of life. People influence you, you carry that, you carry it on. So I think I carry Dr. Jain's influence in my style. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Dr. Shriram, very quickly, I know you wouldn't have, Dr. Shriram.
Shriram, would you share something?
Would you want to share or would you want to stay?
Well, I'll probably be really brief because I have not met him.
Right.
I'm probably one of the few unfortunate people who didn't met him in this audience, if there is any. So, but I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to work with the Prem Jain Foundation on the conference that we did, primarily because of Dr. Hari and Dr. Sayal. But you know, I feel quite blessed to hear whatever everybody is saying. You know, it's always my parents used to tell me that you must always hear good things before you imbibe good culture within yourself. So for me, this is such a great opportunity. Thank you very much. That's all I would like to say.
Nice, very nice. Thank you. Quite brief. Can I request Mr. K.D. Singh if he's around, and after that, Jaimini Oberoi and Beri Saab. First, K.D. Singh, if he's there. Yeah, there you are, sir.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you, Hari Saab, and thank you, Payalji, for having me here. So I would begin by saying that Dr. Jain led by example, and with this dedication to create a green and a sustainable India, a role model for many. His caring persona was not only for his family, but for the entire community as a whole. For me, his first name, Prem, I would say that his first name, Prem, stood for a passionate, revolutionary, and an engineering magnate, for whom every big challenge seemed very small. I think visionary leaders like him are born once a lifetime, and the Harit Prem Mahotsav is a great way to celebrate his life. So I wish to congratulate Payalji and the entire organizers of the Harit Prem Mahotsav for organizing this event, and I wish them all the best for the future years to come. For me, Dr. Jain was a great person, and I think he left, as I think many of the people said, earlier, before, whoever interacted with him, I think he left a very deep impression with anyone and everybody that he interacted with. Thank you.
Thank you. Jaimini?
Yes.
Good evening, I just tell you all before he speaks that he had sent a video, but he calls Payal and says, "No, I want to speak." Go on, please.
See, okay, I know I'll start with a video. I term Dr. Jain, we have a Rudraksh Mala, and he's the guru because of every mala that we complete, the Rudraksh, the 108 manaks, you have to touch it to your forehead. So he was like us, he bound all of us together, whether we are 50 or whether we are 108 or whether we are past that. And we always, I mean, I have yet to attend, ever since he's passed away, one function, I must have attended scores of them where a tribute, a magnificent tribute has not been paid to him for his humility, for his leadership, for his drive, for his selflessness. Now, as a part of that manka, you know, manak or that mala, even on a personal note, he was likewise. He met my daughter for the first time at our place. She had 2 boys. And he immediately told her, look, I have 2 grandsons there in Singapore, right, Payal? Yes. And look, I want you to send your children to Singapore for your future studies. So she says, look, my husband, she says, look, Payal is doing likewise. I mean, you know, she and her husband share it. So you better go there. What are you doing? What's more important to you than your than your children? He will go. Can't you look after work? And every time he met me for the next few years after that, he says, has she made up her mind? And I said, yes, they are going to go abroad. Thank you, Dr. Jain. 1. 2, his relentless drive. I'm talking of the time when much before Arun Bhatia or Chirag even were on the scene. I was doing the Raj Vilas, all the civil works. He was doing the MEPs. Carrier had just about made a presence on the Indian air conditioning system. We were all in awe of Carrier. I didn't know that he had worked, which he told me there. And then he relentlessly worked to make a sort of a system which, in fact, Carrier India had refused that they cannot do it. They will have to put 2 units. He says, no, I want 1 unit and I'll tell you how to do it. And for several times he got together, he got the team of carriers, got them working, and he set that air conditioning right. He said that we made that new unit which surfaced, and it's there even today at the Raj Vilas after 1995 or say 97 we started, 95, 97 it was functional. So he was great man, and at times when I go there and I said, look, these air conditioners are made by Carrier, but they're his mind. So I always, well, that's about it. Thank you, everyone. And we have a lot of love, respect, affection, whatever it be.
Nice.
Since Jayani ji mentioned Arun Bhatia, may I ask him to come in next?
Sure. I just after Berisa, because I had mentioned his name earlier. After that, Arun, yes. Oh, we can't hear you. The mute is.
You're on mute.
The mute. You have to unmute. No. Okay. You have to unmute.
Yes, sir. I did that. I mean, after listening to the veterans, I really don't know where to start. But for me, Dr. Prem Jain, true to his name, was an epitome of love in every sense of the word. And there was an aura of divinity in his smile.
Yeah.
In his smiling face, I saw that divinity which reflects his purity of heart. There are many things I experienced, but one thing I feel was a changing point. There was a turning point in Indian green building movement. That was when USGBC, put forward their preposterous terms and threatened to leave IGBC. He was really so concerned, and he was first for him little agitated. Literally, he went to the length and the breadth of India, met every developer, architects, consultant, literally prevailed upon them to back IGBC and go with the Indian way. And if we are today the second largest, green footprint nation in the world, I think the entire credit should go to Dr. Prem Singh Jain at that time of the hour.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Chirag, if you're there. And then I'll request Mr. Ravish Khosla after that.
Chirag had to
Not
drop.
here.
I think we were
Wonderful.
asking Mr. Arun Bhatia to speak.
Arun Bhatia.
Please
Sure,
ask him.
sure,
Yes.
sure. He's right here.
I'll start with the word I used to love hearing. He used to say every meeting with the start of Namaskar, you know, and I really miss that word, you know, every time, you know, we used to connect. So I think all of us feel the same emotion about him, from his smile to that warm hug, to the simplicity. And he's the one who frankly brought us into this social impact forum, you know. The one word which we are being taught in the corporate world, and when I look at him, I mean, he was an epitome of that. So it's called servant leadership. It's about getting everybody together from an I to a we, empower them, and at the same time, making sure that all of us are channelized to meet that. So I used to have a target from my company and a target from Dr. Jain every year. And the target from Dr. Jain was always for sure. He'll never leave me. He'll always push me that, hey, what can you do more? So starting from Green Your School, you know, where, you know, he gave us the idea that why don't you start something, because children are the bright ones who have new ideas. And that's how the Green Your School contest in IGBC was started, you know. When we signed, I remember Sachin Tendulkar for Toshiba. He says, can you get him for a green building? He actually pushed me hard. And I'm glad we could get Sachin Tendulkar for one of the events. And then, you know, rest is history, you know, from getting all speakers from Globis. So, I mean, the thing I take away from him even today in my life is what I call servant leadership is something which all of us embrace. To be simple, to be humble, and yet get the thing done, you know, in terms of what the goals are. So thank you, Payal, for getting us all together. It's down nostalgia lane for all of us. And I was away from IGBC for a couple of years, but today I'm again back. You know, I'm feeling I'm still very much an active part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Ravish Khosla. Very briefly, sir, if you don't mind. You go back a long way. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
We can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, I met Dr. Jain in 71 or 72 when I was a young engineer working with Blue Star. And I did some projects with him and found him a very good teacher, very humble and very caring. And I left for Middle East for about 13, 14 years. But every time I visited India, I used to meet him. And after that, I started a manufacturing unit in joint venture with Blue Star and took his guidance all along. So he was very helpful and very humble and very caring. Thank you.
Mr. Chandra Ganguly, can I? No, you have to unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Hari. Thanks, Payal, for inviting me. It is always a pleasure to be anywhere, anything involved with Dr. Saab. I mean, I was like a toddler who held on to his hand. He really led me in the last 27, 28 years of my life. And what I just like to share that, you know, if you did believe in something, he will really push you, as somebody rightly said, that he'll really push you till you get what he wants and what you can achieve out of it. I remember Dr. Jain need not have gone to such extent a lot of times. I mean, I remember one instance, we had to address an issue and we wanted to find out there was an issue we had to sort out with the big hospital about some noise. And in the middle of the night, he said, let's go. And I remember me, Vijay, Dr. Saab, we just went and tried to identify the source of the problem. That was the beauty about his, you know, the way he used to work. I mean, and so humble, so modest, and always, if you must have noticed, he never, you know, he always gave you the impression that there is so much to learn from you. He was a great listener. He was such a great listener. I used to sometimes think, I mean, this gentleman knows everything, but still, you know, he listens and he encourages you with so much of keenness, like you feel so important that, you know, you are making such great points, but actually he could absorb everything from everybody he used to meet. And I remember I am so indebted to him. He was not in good health in the last few years. Any event I had for my company, he used to be there. My daughter was getting married, and that was in 87 December
he was really not well. I mean, he used to normally come on his own. Bhabiji used to seldom come, but that time, because he needed Bhabiji to come along with him, and his blessings were so invaluable that words can't just express. I hope he's fine and he's looking at all of us and still steering us in his positive way. And God bless him, and God bless the entire family.
Mr. Baljit Sopti. After that, can I request Mr. Mahindra? Baljit Sopti.
Thank you, Mr. Harun. It's very difficult to talk about Dr. Jain because either you give us a couple of hours, but a minute you cannot say much. A lot has been said about his professional excellence and competence, but I'd like to touch upon three very brief points about what I knew him as an individual. I was talking to my daughter the other day when we were driving back together, and I told him, I said, Payal has asked me to say a few words on Dr. Jain. What do you think of him? And her answer was that I can never forget his warm hugs at every birthday which I attended. Coming from a child, and not that she's a child anymore, but at that time she was a child, I think it speaks volumes of the individual. The second point I'd like to talk about is trust. I don't know if Payal remembers when she was very, very young. He called me one day and said, Payal is interested in seeing a music system. Can you take her along to see Nishi Nakra? I have a daughter and I'm not sure whether I'll trust her with a stranger, but I accompanied Payal and we went to see this music system. Payal, I don't know if you remember that incident.
Of course, I remember. Baljit.
And most important, the last point I'd like to make is his humility. Every time we went to his house, he made it a point to see us off to the car with what I called a bear hug. Not many people of his stature ever come down. I use the word down, come down to that level, because we were really speaking lesser mortals in front of him. I still remember in one of the birthdays at Payal's house, it was a torrential downpour. And the humility of the gentleman was such that he was standing in the portico, ensuring that everyone was seen off to his car without getting drenched. That was Dr. Jain. I can only, I was reading something which I'd like to end with, and that is a small eulogy which says that in another time, in another place, where friends are scarce and few, we will hear another hour chime without bidding Dr. Jain adieu.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Very beautiful. Both of you, between Mr. Ganguly and you, and look at Mr. Chandra Ganguly. Look at his, 1971, and here he's talking of it as if it's yesterday. So something touched all of you so powerfully. Can I now turn to Mr. Sunit Mahindra, after that to Venkat Giri, and then to Ranga of our Ranga from Chennai. Yeah.
Thank you, Hari. Thank you, Payal. And I was supposed to be speaking extempore, but when I saw this sea of conversations, I thought that I probably may not get a turn. So I started writing. And I was just about to send to Payal when my name was announced.
Yeah.
So I'm too fortunate, and I'll, in the interest of time, quickly read it rather than say extempore. So I would say values are invisible, but people portray these. By looking at them, we learn to sense and experience how invisible phenomena works in daily life. He was truly the epitome of love, compassion, and sincerity, true to his name. Here I would quote one of great Buddhist scholars of Japan who had said, think of a small tree under a large one, or grass by a great river. They do not receive rain or water directly. They nonetheless thrive, partaking from the large tree or drawing moisture from the river. I would say that I am fortunate to experience this in my life. At my work, in running my own practice, interactions with him, and just observing him was in itself a repository of lessons in running an organization by making everyone feel cherished. The other thing I would like to mention is that his very persona displayed the meaning of gratitude. He would always be thanking everyone as though they had done something great. And I would wonder, what have I done? Having been a student of his classes at SPA, he was truly the first person to enable developing a concern for services that run through architecture. At the same time, engineering is an art too, was something that I took away from him. I learned what it meant to be passionate and how does one reach the hearts of people who you address. And that has become one of my most precious lessons as a teacher myself. And when at the project where we had a good fortune of working together, it was the North-South University at Dhaka, that was an experience above all in seeing and feeling his protection. He took personal responsibility of me, the youngest member of the team, whether it was safeguarding my professional interests or at the personal level. And twice we traveled together to Dhaka. When he got to know of my son, who was a toddler, he made sure to invite us at every possible place where Jai and Yash would be there. He literally pushed me to stay at his humble cottage at Goa. Two of my stays there are most memorable. And when I looked at the nameplate the first time I went to Goa, I understood what being a father meant. So the house was called Payal. The concerts of Mrs. Jain, he would never forget to invite me. And the last thing I would like to talk about is my last encounter with him. Just a few, probably months before he was no more. It was again at SPA, outside the elevator, where it was a chance encounter. And he just said one thing, that I am so happy that you are still teaching. And there I took a promise that no matter what happens, my vow is that as long as I live, I would learn and I would teach. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And KK Mitra, I know you're boarding a flight and you're waiting for this. Please share as quickly. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. There you are.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Hari. Thank you, Payal. It was really wonderful to hear it, and I was just waiting when I can get a chance to speak.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
Actually, I will speak very briefly. I mean, I knew Dr. Jain since late 80s, starting the career, but two instances which actually moved me was that warm hug, which I always share with people. It was an occasion when I was at the dais on a panel discussion on Green Building Congress. And when I came down, probably I thought maybe he will shake a hand, but he gave a warm hug. It was really, really emotional. I couldn't stop my emotion. Then he said, "You speak from your heart. Can we meet at the office?" I had a very good meeting with him at the office, and I learned so many things. I learned that I could be a good speaker, and that's where he brought me to ASHRAE, and where I could quickly become the ASHRAE president. And when I was taking the oath, I was dreaming if Dr. Jain can conduct it. And when the invitation was sent, he came, and we had very good interaction. He hugged me again. He met my family. And when he heard my son is doing mechanical engineering, he was so happy. He said, in these days, it is good to see when young engineers are getting into mechanical. I get a hope that this mechanical engineering MEPs will keep on progressing. And that's how I got motivated when I got that, let me get into, with his motivation, into ASHRAE USA for a lecture. He really gave his ashirwad that it is a real chance from people from Asia getting a chance to ASHRAE USA Winter Conference, making a presentation. And I thought it is totally his dedication. And that is how I will remember the hug which he provided. And I think that will remain as a motivation. And I think many of the people who spoke about it, that warm hug which is to provide, is something really great, which will miss forever. Thanks.
Have a safe flight. Thank you for staying on this long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Venkat Giri. And after that, I will turn to Ranga and then to Anand.
I can see Samir is also waiting.
Yes, Samir has come back from that ride on the car.
Okay.
I just now saw his chat. So, Sabi, bear me out. We will listen to Venkat and then Ranga. Yeah, go on. Venkat.
Thank you, Dr. Harian. Thank you, Ms. Payal, for this opportunity. There's so many things to say about Dr. Jain. So many has been said. An extraordinary person in every way. One unique thing which Dr. Jain had the proficiency and capability of looking at an aspect from 20,000 feet view, as well as at a micro level. Whether it was his vision for Bharat in terms of green building or in terms of addressing a very fine technical point in data center rating, he was equally proficient and at ease. I think this we learned a lot from Dr. Jain during all our interactions. And one thing which is very poignant and which I remember always is the day when he went to the doctor and said that he may not be able to attend the Green Building Congress 2018. He sent a mail to me and then he said, I'm couriering all the papers which are related to IGBC and green building. I have made detailed files for each of these aspects, and this has helped me for the last 50 years in terms of handling affairs at ASHRAE and IGBC subsequently. I'm sure you will find this useful. This was the last mail to me. I still have that mail saved in my inbox. We had extraordinary learning, and it's a privilege to speak about Dr. Jain. Thank you.
When was that? What date was that? That last mail of his?
Just a second, sir.
I don't know. As we
This
call
was 28th of August.
That's right. I got one around the same date, 28th, like 23rd, I got one, and then 28th. And Payal was also marked on that mail on the 28th of August. Anand, if you don't mind, I will let Samir Sinaf take this turn, and then, yeah. Samir, yes.
Thank you, Hari.
Ranga,
thank you,
I will come
Payal,
back to you.
for accommodating me. And I'm sorry I was rushing a little bit earlier, just trying to get to a place where I could talk. So first of all, I have sent a little note to Payal to convey my fondest memories and regards. So I'll keep it very, very short. My fondest memory of Dr. Jain is my first meeting with him, which happened in Ahmedabad nearly 20 years ago. And the meeting was supposed to be a 10-15 minute meeting for a project which lasted nearly 2 hours. And at the end of that meeting, I was converted into a green warrior, and all thanks to Dr. Jain. And he had said something at that time, which I still very vividly remember. I said, what is all this green movement about? He said, it's not a movement, it's a revolution. And you will see that the world will change in the next 15 years, 20 years and I cannot recognize, I could not recognize the gravity of what he was saying then. And I'm so fortunate to have been influenced by him. And my fondest memory today remains, what I miss the most about him is his omnipresent presence in every conference that we went to, his warm hugs when he saw you, and his red tie, always. So I really, really remember him very fondly. Thank you, Payal, for inviting me. I'll keep it very short, but he remains very firmly in our hearts forever. Thank you.
Ranga.
Yeah, hi, Payal, hi, Hari, and all other friends and the trustees of the Memorial Trust. It's one way nice to be at the last, or one of the last, because everything has been said. I had to look for something very different because I don't want to repeat. And one thing that I probably known Dr. Jain less than most of you. Maybe I've known him for 20 years, but all of you seem to be knowing him for ages. Some of you even before Payal was born. So the first thing before I met him was intrigue. I was intrigued at this person because when I just started setting up Grundfos and wanted to go into HEVAC, everybody said you have to meet Dr. Jain, and he wouldn't meet me. Not because he didn't want to, he was so busy. Finally, the intrigue kept increasing every day, and I went behind him like a leech. He said, you have to meet me for 5 minutes, I don't care where. Finally he said, I'll give you 5 minutes in a hotel opposite the Juhu airport. There was about the Santa Cruz airport, there was the Centaur Hotel, the old one. It says 5 minutes there in the lobby. So I made my 2-minute pitch that I want to enter this thing, and he has got such a lovely smile. With the same smile, he tells me, do you know anything about HEVAC? I said, no, but I have the equipment to do it. He says, पहले आप 20 project करके मेरे पास आओ. The smile never varied. I said, wow, that's all. It was the end of the meeting. And I did not go back to him till I finished 20 projects. I went back to him. I said, 20 हो गया अभी. He gives me a big smile. Now I have to put your name in our, in our tenders. I said, yeah, you have to. You told me 20. I've done more than 20. And one thing I always told him, I think even towards the thing I kept telling him, I'm very envious of you. Why? See, chronologically, I am younger, you're older, but your energy and enthusiasm level, I'm unable to match at any point of time. You know, he was always impeccably dressed, always ready to do something, and he was there at every point.
Absolutely.
There was no way of matching that. I would feel a little tired after some time. I said, I don't know how you do it, but then hats off to you, and a little bit of envy is also there. So if you see me turning a little different color, that's because of envy. He would always laugh that off. So it's lovely memories, and it's memories that take us forward. Payal, I wish all you guys the very best.
Absolutely, you're looking gracious with the beard.
You know what? Yeah, you know what I did is I wanted to cut my beard. My hair had grown long. I just ran my machine right on top because
Very nice. You're looking very elegant. Very elegant. Designed.
Another 4 months, I don't need to go worry about.
Yeah, Anand, you'll excuse me. I'll request Mr. Vadva if he's there to speak. He's another old, and since Ranga talked about all those people who have known him for a long time. Mr. Vadva, Mr. Rajesh Vadva, are you there? Okay. Mr. Vivek Sabharwal, can you unmute yourself? Would you want to speak?
Rakesh Vadva is here, but I think he can't hear us. So.
Oh, he can't hear us. Yeah, Mr. Sabharwal, you're there.
Thank you so much. You know, I've been hearing, how much I missed not knowing him so well. You know, this is one incident that I'd like to mention that when I started my practice, it was one of my dreams to work with Dr. Jain. And I remember in 1997, I had a very small project and I was not sure whether he would even accept that. So, you know, and for days I would not call his office or not call him, thinking that, he would refuse because the project was very small. But still I took the courage and called him and requested him that if he could, help me out with a specific problem that I had in air conditioning. And he did not say no. And that was a big relief for me. That, what a great man he was, that with such large projects he had, and here I was coming with a very small project, and yet he did not refuse me. But it was a different matter that the project did not come through because of my client. But it left a deep impression on me on his greatness, about his greatness. The other incident I remember that in year 2000, I joined Rotary Club of Delhi South, of which he was also a member. So I used to meet him on every Monday whenever he was in town. So his sense of punctuality, that was noticed that he used to be the first person to reach the Rotary meeting. So and I was amazed that such a busy person with so many commitments, and yet he was there the first person to reach there. And that was an opportunity I used to use, by talking to him on various areas. And I thought I learned so much from him during that short interaction I used to have. And more than going to the Rotary Club every Monday meeting, I was to look forward to go and meet him before the meeting started. I knew that before even I reached, he would be there. So there was a great, time interacting with him. So, he was such a great person. And I'm very thankful to Payalji and other members of PJMT to create this kind of a forum where we are all together. And it's a learning exercise for all the, for people like me and my students and other students of other institutes, the legacy that he's left behind. They all are going to learn from his disciples. It's such a great initiative that Payalji and other members have taken. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're right. And we must put this together as some kind of an e-compendium online for, students to be inspired by. There's so much that every one of you has been saying.
Can we ask Anand now?
Yeah, Anand.
I'm waiting to hear what Anand has to say.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, Anand.
Good evening, Payalji, and good evening, Dr. Chandrasekhar Hariharan. What would I say? See, many of the elders started saying 1970 onwards, they are closely associated with Dr. Jain Saab. I am a 1970 born, not so young, but youngest among this lot, 1970 born kid. But I am very proud and very privileged to associate with Dr. Jain Saab since 2002, actually, even before the building IGBC was up. I went to a conference hosted by CII, Raghupati, and Giri said that you go and talk to Dr. Jain. I was more worried. I was not aware about the subject. 2002, on green buildings in Delhi, there were no mobiles for me as well as Dr. Jain Saab is only JK. So he came right 15 minutes before the event. He was the keynote speaker. He asked me to sit next to him on the head table. So it started. And ironically, April 2018 was the last event he physically attended. At Vijayawada, I was next to him for the handing over the plug for the Amaravati city. So though I was not having association with the Dr. Jain Saab since 70s, but these 20 years, I would have spent most of the time when compared with all the other HVAC and other industry professionals. I'm very, very fortunate. It's a God-given sent gift for me actually at the personal level. Every single day, every single meeting and launching the Guwahati chapter, left, right, center, north, east, we have traveled enormous amount of time. That's especially the last 15 years, we are very lucky to spend a lot of time. One thing which I always feel is, right from 2001, even if I do, or not only with me, every single engineer who has joined in 2017, the way in which he writes the email, appreciates from the bottom of his heart. Every one of us, we preserve every single activity. It could be a thanks letter, it could be a sponsorship. That is one thing which touches every one of our heart, the warmth, the love. Age is not with me, I cannot appreciate his talent, the great articulation skill. Even I would have gone and met one architect, Brinda Somaya's email, which I plugged out, which I met her in 2016. I will share it with Dr. Chandrasekhar and Payalji also. The way in which he wrote, and for that, Dr. Jain Saab beautifully articulated, not only with me, every single architect and engineer with the IGBC, who may be 20, 21 years old. So that one thing, and he is a great visionary, the engineer, architect, and is a great human being. I am personally blessed to roam around with them in thick and thin for the last 20 years, which is very, very gifted. And I do keep all the personal notes, what he has shared, right at my house. So whether I refer IGBC green rating very frequently, but these three things and the CD and the Pebble, which I got last year, is all closer to my desk.
Very lovely.
Along with his desktop calendar. So we are all.
One of these days, you must do one very lovely portrait of Dr. Jain.
Yeah, I will do that.
Anand is an artist, and we are seeing some amazing work.
I'm really blessed. Thank you, Payalji. Thanks, Dr. Chandrasekhar, for the wonderful opportunity. We are always available for every activity of PGNP. Thank you.
While you were talking,
Doctor, we do have many people here, but I see most of their videos off. We have Shonu Auntie, Manisha's sisters here from London. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here, for logging. I know some of them don't want to speak and they might get very emotional. So I won't put them on the spot. But I do want to say thank you to everybody who's here today. And this has been a very, very, very emotional evening, very special. And my sincere gratitude to each one of the people who has taken the time to. Unfortunately, we couldn't meet in person. I feel a little cheated, but Zoom is better than not meeting at all, I suppose. So, thank you very much for joining, Doctor. I'll leave it to you to close.
It's been such a lovely evening, as she messaged earlier, and to see people like Mr. Java, Mr. Mittal, Mr. Suresh, Tyagarajan, everyone is here, and And all those words, I don't even want to go into those resonating phrases that each one of you spoke of, and it was so nice. Very, very lovely evening. Closest to being physically together, but I think this has been as good as a physical one. Last year we were together, of course. Thank you so much. I don't know how to thank, we have to thank each other for such a lovely evening that we have had.
Yes.
Payal, for such, and this event being positioned the way it is to be the culmination of this wonderful series of events that we have every year in this week, with the support of all these people who just did it from out of a sense of love and admiration and everything else. What can I say? I'll stop there. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Java. Thank you, Sureshji, everyone else.
And for the Mahotsav being just absolutely overwhelming. I mean, everybody who's here has been part of this Mahotsav, and I from the bottom of my heart, I mean, it has just taken on a different form and shape and scale. And the trust, the trustees, the board of governors, I'm just sincerely so grateful. My mother is here, and I'm sure she would like to say thank you, but I'm not able to unmute to her for some reason. So I will say, Mom, can you speak?
Yeah, I can speak. Thank you very much. It was very heartwarming to hear everything about Prem. I'm so grateful to each one of them.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Goodbye, everyone.
Doctor, I couldn't see Lady Irwin. I couldn't see.